This is a HeadGum podcast.
All right, guys, this is Talking Banter, the official Dynamic Banter after show. Today we're talking about episode 8. I forgot what it's called now. What is it called? The Small Gentleman. With me as always, Owen.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I gotta hype up the energy. We have so much. We say we have so much to cover every week, but this week we have so much to cover. We got to cover Dynamic Banter. We need to review the pacifier. We need to take questions from fans. And we got a little fan fiction to read.
You've been promising.
So we got to jump right in. Okay, so top of show, soul coughing. Which it's like the question at the Kevin Smith special. It's like the first question always dictates what the entire talk is going to be about. Like I felt like soul coughing was the backbone of this entire episode.
Seems like it.
Are you a fan?
No, never heard him.
Really?
Yeah.
Ever?
Never.
Oh man, I watched.
I do know the Winchester House though.
Well, we'll get to that. I have so many questions because you were there. I watched an episode of Grey's Anatomy randomly. Like I never got down on that show. But they played a song in like a Christmas special called "I Hear the Bells," and I loved it. And I sought it out, and I had to figure out what it was. And it was Mike Doty. I'm sure that's how you say it. It's probably wrong. And I loved it. So I listened to that whole album and I was obsessed with it. And then I found out that he was in a band called Soul Coughing. And I listened to their albums and I totally hated it and like never listened again. So I didn't have a good point of reference for all the soul coughing talk, but I did like his later stuff.
That's interesting because when people make that kind of change, like Simon and Garfunkel, and then everything else Paul Simon did,
Sure.
or like Wings,
Yeah.
with Paul McCartney as opposed to the Beatles, like it's usually radically different enough that I only like one of the two. Really?
Yeah. I mean, like nobody likes that Eddie Vedder solo album. I just want another Pearl Jam album. But they were talking about what the song Circles is about.
Or was it Circles or Circle?
Circles. I think it's Circles.
That's what they thought too, but then Steve said it was Circle. I think. I don't remember.
We're not going to look it up.
I thought that's what we're here to do.
All right, fine.
We're here to get the information.
Get it all
straight.
correct?
Yeah.
All right, good. But they didn't mention it in the Winchester Wikipedia.
Right.
And Mike was like, it should be on the song Wikipedia. So I looked that up, and there isn't a Wikipedia for just the song. And all I found was some analysis that was about the band going in circles. And then at the end of that analysis, it was like, and it's also about the Winchester House. It is Circles with an S.
It is Circles.
Yeah. I'll show you to confirm.
Now we know. Yep, got it. Great. I'm glad we did that. I'm glad you did that.
I know. Every time you listen to this show and you're like, is this really adding value? Today you can be like, yeah.
So far, anyways.
Okay, so when I was listening to this podcast, it was really late at night, and I was playing video games in the dark, and I got genuinely like a little spooked out.
Hearing about the house?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So tell me about it. So you went with Steve.
Yeah, but that wasn't the first time I've been there.
All right, well, I don't know anything about it. I keep wanting to go to Hearst Castle.
It's right nearby.
You can do both?
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. But I've never done Hearst Castle, which is crazy.
Oh, man. Well, I was talking to Steve and Bree because Jamie's birthday is coming up. Doing like a weekend, and we could do both.
Man. And back in the day, me and Steve's buddy Isaiah got invited by one of the people who worked at Hearst Castle to one of their moon parties.
Okay.
And we didn't go because we're assholes.
Why?
I don't
You know
know.
it was going to be like the end of Perfume. One just pile of fucking bodies under the moon. Did you do anything weird? So you've been multiple times?
Yeah, I read about the Winchester House when I was in second grade because I got a copy of the Guinness Book of World Records and it was in there. I was reading.
What's its
everything.
record?
Like, longest continuous construction of a house,
Oh, okay.
or most rooms
It's
in
not
a
like
house, or
most
something.
ghosts.
No, because you
They
can't.
haven't given that award away yet?
I don't think so.
All right. But I thought that was an interesting story that it's all the ghosts that have been killed with a Winchester rifle.
Yeah, that's what she thought. Well, because Winchester, her husband died, and then like their kid died or something, and she like got super depressed and like fucked up. Sure. And they didn't live in that house yet. She was on the East Coast, but she moved out here and got that farmhouse, and then started like building like crazy.
So I've been to the Hollywood Castle, the Magic Castle, and are those two separate things? Now that I think about it, I've been to the Magic Castle, and they have
Hollywood Towers.
Yeah, they have like a seance room.
Yeah,
I've not been invited to a seance yet.
Yeah, well,
is there that kind of shit going on?
She was having seances every night.
Do they still do it though?
No, I think there have been some attempts over the years. I think they tried to like Houdini's wife came and whatever. Because remember what Houdini said though?
What?
After I die, because his birthday was Halloween, I think, something like that. And so he said, if you have a seance on Halloween and they say they're contacting me, then you'll know it's bullshit. And so like she had a couple seances just to like prove his point of like, nah, it's not like that. That's some bullshit.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
No?
No.
Well, me either. So it doesn't really work for like a point counterpoint.
Well, smart people will argue like, quantum fluctuations or, time echoes or, alternate parallel whatevers. That we don't know. We haven't quite figured all that out. Possibility? Maybe.
Yeah.
If anything, but I don't, no one's, especially with all those ghost hunting shows now.
Right.
We've never been filming and taking more pictures of ghosts ever, or trying to, and still like not having gotten anything ever. And how come all ghosts are from the 1800s anyways?
Yeah, it takes a while to become a ghost.
They all got the same clothes unless you're a ghost in like England, and then you're from like medieval times.
Well, my thing is I don't believe in ghosts, but I fear that one day I'll see one and it'll break my whole understanding of reality. Like, that's why when I hear ghost stories, I get a little suspect. I'm not actually expecting to see one, but if I do, it'll really upset me.
Yeah, it'll ruin your day.
It'll upset me more than someone who believes in ghosts. It's like, yeah, see?
Uh-huh.
It would really, like, change the fabric of me.
Yep.
And
in a way that I've become quite comfortable with.
Right.
In fact,
so I have
sleep
a healthy
better
fear
at night because of how I understand reality.
Well, when my brother got married, he got married in Texas. I don't remember where, but it was like an hour out at
Cowboy
Shreveport. Ghosts? Well, stick with me. We went to Shreveport for his like bachelor party thing and then drove back. Mm-hmm. We had no idea that was like one of the most dangerous drives you can take in America, but we made it. Okay. I don't know. I guess like right outside of Shreveport is really rough. Or outside the...
like dangerous neighborhood.
Right.
Gotcha.
But he was getting married at
I thought it was maybe like the cliff edge.
Oh, no.
North by Northwest or something.
A lot of people fell into the Gulf of Mexico and were never heard from again. But we were staying in a hotel. They were getting married at this hotel somewhere in Texas. And we found out that it's one of the top 10 most haunted places in America. Mm-hmm. Couple that with he was getting married on like ghost hunting, international or national ghost hunting week or something like that. So every room in the hotel was booked up.
That's like being more afraid of sharks because it's Shark Week on Discovery Channel.
Well, yeah. But we were staying in this hotel where everybody had like EKG meters or whatever the fuck they are.
Oh, that's fun.
And they were just like looking for ghosts. And every time we'd go back to our room, they'd be like, "Did you see anything?" And we would be like hammered. And we're like, no, not tonight. Sorry.
See, that's
but
the thing. Even when you don't believe, why is this stuff still fun? But it's fun.
it's fun. But then I feel like I have a healthy fear of it because I don't ever plan to see a ghost. So it's weird. It's like I'm like I don't believe in ghosts, and yet I'm afraid of them.
I get it.
Yeah. So I want to go to the Winchester house.
Yeah, it's real
just
fun.
because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
To put myself in that situation. But is it like a haunted house, or is it more just like the Biltmore house or whatever?
Yeah. It's not. There's no
Okay.
gags
There's
and
no
goofs.
there's no haunted Winchester ride.
No, but yeah, the midnight tour they do on each Friday the 13th and on Halloween. They turn out all the lights.
Jamie's birthday is October 27th.
I think it's like
So it would be so close.
Oh man, perfect.
No, it's perfect. I have that week off of work.
It's like over a mile the whole tour, just going through all the different rooms.
Oh man, we're gonna do Talking Banter live from the Winchester Mystery House in October. Stay tuned. Okay, so then they talked about The Small Gentleman, which is amazing. I didn't feel like there was much for us to add here other than to deconstruct what might be in the Boy Gentleman drink.
Oh.
So people can make them at home. I was going with like a baby bourbon, like a small batch baby bourbon, and that's where I ended this whole gag. I didn't come up with anything else
That's
funny.
it.
Is there other like small related items you can put in a drink?
Oh, I get what you're saying. What about those like?
Is it Ecto Cooler? Is it baby bourbon and Ecto Cooler?
I was gonna say, what about those?
'Cause the
little
gentleman is
mini
dead.
sausages.
The little not the Vienna sausage, the
Just the little like appetizer.
cocktail weenies.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, those should go in there.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious. So if you want to make one at home, that's baby bourbon.
And don't forget to put in a tiny umbrella.
Yeah, through the cocktail wiener.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's baby bourbon.
I like the little swords
Ecto
too.
Cooler.
You ever had a little sword?
You like that better than the umbrella?
The sword's pretty cool.
They'll both be acceptable
Yeah.
to us.
They're both miniature versions of what they're supposed to be, so it's appropriate.
I love that. We'll put the recipe on the Twitter so you can be drinking it while you listen. So I'm jumping ahead because I want to circle back to Beetlejuice. Winnie's Place, the sitcom idea.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to throw my hat in the ring to direct that. I think that's
Genius.
that's got to be something.
Genius.
That's at the very least should be a live stage show element at Less for Longer. We'll bring in a bunch of guests to play the roles of Casper.
Really putting the pressure on that last for longer.
So, well, I mean, we'll get to it when we get to Comic-Con, but me and Steve definitely discussed the logistics. I said I thought it would be funny if it was like a 5 to 6 hour show.
Mm-hmm.
And then Steve did a big, like, thanks everybody for coming, and walked off stage. And then before he got off stage, we walked on stage and sat down. And we did another hour of commentary on the live show, which he thought would be too weird and that we should just do it straight. But I believed in the idea to then when I later ran into Falzone, I pitched it to him too. And he also said he thought it was too weird. So I think that idea is out. Unless the listeners of this podcast really rally around it, I don't think that's going to happen. But Winnie's Place
We might
live.
have to throw our separate live show across the street and don't tell them. Kind of like this show.
Well, I talked to Steve a lot at Comic-Con. I was I'm a note in my own notes is my name. No, so we got dinner every night. We had dinner club with Anthony Carboni and Trisha Hirschberger.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Lovely.
It was a lovely time, but we got to talk a lot, and it's pretty clear that Steve is not aware of Talking Banter. So I kept bringing things up he did not know, so I had to let him know that Less for Longer is out there in the world and that it has to become a thing. So we talked about, what that would entail, and that it's coming in October. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for more details.
See, because I felt like before you had mentioned that was Steve's idea that he hadn't already told you about.
Well, it was his idea, but you know how Steve is, where he just like throws out an idea and then walks away from it.
Yeah, he's busy.
Remember when he was talking about Swift Justice? That it sounds like a great show.
But he barely talked about it because
I know. Well, we'll have to pilot it out during Less for Longer. Details coming soon. So Winnie's Place, yeah, I think I definitely think we should pursue that. So, Beetlejuice was discussed at length, and the cartoon was discussed at length.
Is that the motion for
This helps
discussion?
me. Yeah, I'm flapping my hand like people talking, but
Or like the
I'm
sock,
making a circle.
or like
with my
the sock
hand.
puppet is missing from your hand. But you're
It's like I like
puppeting it
to
anyways.
angle my fingernails down like teeth. Yeah. So I loved the Beetlejuice cartoon so much and had forgotten about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked it up and was reminded that there was an Alf cartoon as well. But what's crazy is back
I think I can picture
to
that.
oh, it was great. They had really solid toy options out of both.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents, when I was little, would not let me see Beetlejuice, as was discussed previously.
Right. Right.
Not, and it wasn't rated R. It was just my dad wouldn't let us see movies that had like a lot of bad words or sex or whatever, or that he thought was too stupid. And so I didn't see Right Said Fred,
Drop Dead.
Drop Dead Fred, or Beetlejuice till I was much, much older. So my only experience with Beetlejuice was the cartoon, and I had no idea he was dead.
Really? Well,
It wasn't until I saw the movie that I was like, oh, he's dead? I thought he was just like a
'cause they don't
weird
really-
magic creature.
just from like another dimension, or
Right,
something.
because she just would say his name 3 times and he would
Yeah.
appear, and I was like, that's neat.
And they don't really point it out. Well, my memory of the cartoon, because I loved the movie as a kid, even
Right.
as like a young kid. Which, what do you respond? Because everything I love about it now is all these like fun adult ideas,
Sure.
like the ghosts are being haunted by the living in their own house,
Right.
and like the book for the afterlife that everyone tries to read and nobody can understand. It's like the fucking Bible or whatever, you know. Because everyone interprets that shit differently, you know,
Yeah.
like all these metaphors and stuff that are super fun, or like dirty jokes that I didn't understand as a kid. And I don't know, it must just be like the music and the energy and the colors and all that just kind of, that was appealing even at a young age. I recorded the music. That was one of the first things I ever recorded with like a little tape recorder so I could hear it again. Anyways, so when the cartoon came up, it was like, this is lame. Where's so and so? Like I was kind of used to the movie, but I still like watched it because I liked Beetlejuice and stuff. And there was, I think the first season they had it, the first shot of the opening was like Beetlejuice with his closed dead eyes, and then he opens his eyes and it's this like creepy, like super detailed skull version of him.
Right.
And a cockroach like crawls in his nose hole and like crawls out the top of his eye hole.
And you would think that
That was
younger
awesome.
me would be like, yeah, he's dead. But I fucking didn't.
Well, but here's the thing. That was my favorite part of the whole cartoon. Every time it would come on, I couldn't wait to. If I missed the opening shot, I was always like if I came in the middle of the music
Yeah.
was already going. I was like, no, I missed that shot.
You wouldn't even watch. You'd be like, fuck this.
I was pretty sad. They took that out in the like second season or whatever. It was too like gruesome or something.
Have you watched the episodes on the Blu-ray?
No, I don't know what Blu-ray he's talking about. There's no commentary and shit on that. Unless he has some magical one that I don't.
We should look for it. We'll look for it after.
I've never heard a Beetlejuice commentary. I would love to.
Um,
I think it has maybe like isolated music track, which is
yeah,
fun.
it has the theatrical trailer.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh man, the other show. Did you ever watch the Tales from the Crypt animated show?
No.
It's great. Because
How?
again, when I was little, we had HBO for a minute, and I think my parents caught me watching like House or something.
Uh-huh.
And they nixed the HBO. But before that, I had seen like a crazy episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Which one?
I couldn't tell you now. One of the early ones, like the Santa Claus one or whatever.
I think that was Zemeckis.
Yeah. That seems too early. I think it was one of the later ones. I think, or like second season. The first season was only like 6 episodes.
Really? I
Yeah.
haven't gone back and looked at any of
You
it.
should.
Yeah.
It gets really rocky in like
It
around
reminds
the
me
fifth.
of. Did you ever see Amazing Stories?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that where it's like all these great directors and bringing all their composers and everybody along with them to make these like fun Twilight Zone, schlock, whatever kinds of
Yeah.
stories. It seems like Richard Donner did a bunch and whatever. Like, it seems like they should be so much better than they are. But
Well,
they
I
still
think Tales
seem
from
like
the Crypt. It's one of those things. It's always going to be a mixed bag,
yeah.
but it definitely has like standouts.
Yeah.
More than Amazing Stories.
But doesn't that sound like fun? Like all these directors like getting to just come and play
it's
and make
great, yeah.
like a fun half
Isn't
hour.
Shyamalan doing something like that right now, or he's bringing back? I think he brought back Tales from the Crypt.
Did he? I don't
Something
know.
like that.
I'm-
We'll look this up and we'll let you know next time. But I'm glad we got a burp in. But yeah, the Tales from the Crypt animated series.
Mhm.
I think they just put it on Amazon, so I'm gonna purchase it. So I'll let you know. They know how to get my money. But yeah, I would watch it because I couldn't watch the HBO show. Obviously,
Right.
It's just like reading the Blown Away novelization. I was always trying to sidestep. Yeah, I was always trying to like work it out. But
how did they know that kids were into this shit?
I don't know. It was like a Saturday.
How did
an
they know they had a
early
whole
Saturday morning?
How did they know they had a whole audience of kids who were like, my mom and dad won't let me watch Tales from the Crypt, but they made this cartoon just for me.
It's the same. Like it's the same format. It's just shorter. It's a half an hour. Oh wait,
Were those half an hour?
I think the original Tales from the Crypt was. It might have done more than one story. I can't remember, but
Yeah,
it does
maybe,
start.
huh?
It starts with the Crypt Keeper,
Mm-hmm.
who I knew he was dead, and he intros a story, and then they go.
What's the difference?
You know,
He's like a
Crypt.
He's like a skeleton.
he's the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's missing like human parts.
And he's very limited in his movement. He's not all zany
Like
like
he's probably got
Beetlejuice.
a hole in his head, right?
he doesn't have a nose. He has that like
Uh-huh.
that hole
The
where your
Beetlejuice
nose is
cartoon
supposed to go.
didn't have a nose, did he? He had that little like pointy thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Michael
But,
Keaton had a nose though.
But yeah, the Tales from the Crypt cartoon held up, and there was also a YA Tales from the Crypt novelization that I got really into. And this was all because I wasn't allowed to watch Beetlejuice.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So anyway, we got so much to get to. We gotta
So
we gotta
much.
move to Comic-Con.
Yeah, we haven't even unpacked
Well,
Comic-Con.
I mean, Comic-Con was insane. It's so hard because you get back and I'm like, I don't even really know what happened. I worked. I go every year with DC. I direct a show for DC Comics, and they take me down there, and I felt the same as Steve and Mike, that they always put me up in like the Marriott, and I feel special. And I don't know how I got there, but it's usually just a lot of drunken chaos and very little sleeping, and
Yeah.
I felt bad for Steve that he couldn't do anything fun. But we definitely had a dope dinner club going.
I didn't realize how like bummed out he'd be, because you'd think like he's on his billboard and stuff down there. Like
Yeah.
that'd be for someone who'd always gone, like to be like one of the like people.
No, it was
You think that'd be like a dream come
it
true.
was a big deal.
and I think it is, but he's still like he'd rather actually be there.
Just enjoying Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It was fun this time. I walked around the floor with Steve a little bit and got to see.
That's like his nerd paradise, you know. That's
Right.
That's Disneyland that only happens once a year.
We walked around with a couple guys. So I have a new favorite moment at Comic-Con came out of this trip. So I was walking around with Steve, and we were walking around with his friend Todd from Toddland, which I'm to understand makes shirts and other apparel. And hey, you've been to Comic-Con, right?
Yep.
Have you ever seen, there's the guy who dresses up like Silent Bob and just stands against one of the columns and just quietly stands there clerk style, like all day.
No, I haven't seen him. Good for his commitment, I suppose.
Yeah, he's become like a staple. But Todd walked by and he looked at him coming up, and he's like, oh my God, here he is. Like, this guy's great. And he walked right up to him. He goes, you're great, and you're great every year. And the guy who's dressed as Silent Bob like put his hand on his heart and was just like, thank you. And it was this beautiful, like pure moment of just absolute like positivity. Like I felt like a lot of the bad in the world had corrected itself.
The crazy thing about Comic-Con to me is that I didn't go all those years because I thought, like, man, it just seems like a big sweaty mess. And, like,
It is.
yeah, it is. And it definitely is. But I was surprised at how, like, energetic and positive the environment, like, felt. It was awesome. And the only, like, shitty people there were fucking, like, Jesus hates, your costumes, and Jesus says you're going to hell for dressing up like demons and whatever.
There wasn't a lot of that this year. They really
Those
limited
sign people?
There was none because they limited the shit out of a lot of stuff this year.
Really?
You weren't allowed to walk around and cosplay with a gun or any sort of weapon.
Well,
At all.
that was my point, though. When I did see them doing that, I was like, hang on, everyone here is like in a really positive, great place.
I think that every
and
time.
it's you people who are screaming about Jesus that seem really angry and negative, and like that doesn't seem. Maybe you should question your own selves for a second and leave these like kids alone. We're having a good time.
Yeah. Well, growing up in Florida, I was a big NASCAR fan, as I still am, and we would go to the Daytona 500, and NASCAR is always held on a Sunday, and there would always be religious right people out there being like, you should be at church right now, and I'm like, dude, these are your people. Like, they only race here twice a year. I think God's okay with them skipping church twice a year to go watch something they love.
Yeah.
That like he gave to them,
Yeah.
that for them to enjoy. And you're like, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Why else did God invent high octane fuel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sunico? Whatever the official gasoline sponsor of the NASCAR is.
And talking banter.
Sunco? What the fuck is that? What's the name of that, like, a gas station?
BP?
Sunico? Is that a thing?
Seneco?
Probably going to have to cut all this.
Shell?
But it was, that interaction was like a pure moment of nothing but joy exchanged. And I don't know if I've ever seen it. It made me believe in Comic-Con. Like
It was a Comic-Con miracle.
Yeah, I mean, you like love Christmas because of Santa Claus. Then you find out Santa Claus isn't real, and then you're too cool. And then the magic of Christmas returns at some point in your life.
Yeah.
That was what I had with Comic-Con this year.
That's a good feeling.
And I got to hang out with Steve, which was fun. And I ran into Falzone. I was totally gonna clear some stuff up. I'm using air quotes because I texted Falzone what he thought, and I thought that Steve got it wrong, and Steve got it exactly right. I was like, I don't think that's what Falzone said, and then I looked it up, and because I ran into him at the Hyatt. And we got to chat for a while, and I missed his comedy show. So I felt bad about that, and he told me not to. He told me not to feel bad, so I didn't.
I'm sure he did, but I mean, as a host
he
of
told
a
me as
show
long-
like this, I feel like he kind of blew it.
Man, it was tough.
Hosting,
It was tough to make it all work.
responsibilities.
But I was
You're supposed to be kind of in charge of all the continuity.
Well, anyway, I ran into him, so it was okay. I got to see him, and then I forgot to ask him about the theme song. So after he left, I texted him, I forgot to ask, what do you think of the new dynamic banter music? And I said, our Talkin' Banter fans need to know. And he wrote, and I quote, I can't talk about that right now. And I wrote, haha, back. That was the end of the communication. So Steve hit it on the fucking nose. And I think I think it's important that we weigh in on the theme song debate. I was confused that there was different music before this episode, but I vote for the True Detective sounding music.
The one from last week,
The
or
one
2
from
weeks ago?
fall.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like
yeah.
that
I think
one.
I like that one too.
And I wonder if this text is why Mike Falzone name checked us, because I wrote the name of the show in this text.
Oh, you're bringing that up.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Well, I talked to Steve.
I think it was
It's clear he is not aware of Talking Banter.
Right.
Mike, I don't know.
Oh.
It's a question mark.
No confirmation on that yet.
Yeah. Although he doesn't know that I have two podcasts, so maybe he thinks that this voice is somebody else. Anyway, what's your music take?
Um,
There's a two-parter. What do you think about the music?
it's fine.
And then what do you think we should do for our music? Because we're going to have a different song than last week.
Right. I think we need to follow suit. If they change, we're gonna have to take the last one. If they go back, then we have to go to the third one.
Okay. So for this episode, we should use the music from
The one we liked.
Fall.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a lot of work. Oh my goodness. All right, we got to move on. We got so much to cover.
So much.
And now I have lost my notes. Hold on. Why did I write them on my phone? Madison Register, I agree, is a better name, and I would totally immediately change his name. And before I get to the but, someone actually asked a question that this will answer.
People kind of grow into their names. You don't think he's at that point yet where you wouldn't care if he was just a different name? You don't identify him as that name?
Hold on. I want to find this.
So it might be too late, you know what I'm saying?
No, he says I'm like, what's your name? And he's like, Nathan. But that could easily be swayed to Madison.
Oh, he could learn a different name, but you might already think of him. You know how you're like, oh yeah, you seem like a Brett. Now that I know you.
So Lil Tyler Levitt at Twitch _666. Because he's
where are those Jesus people to save us from this evil number?
Yeah, you know what I mean? He asked another question for at Talking Banter. What did at Brett did this think about the Madison bit? Well, I just started answering that. So I think that's even it's a lot of
Thumbs?
No, it's like you count how many beats are in a name, like Madison.
Syllables?
Syllables. A lot of syllables. I like that. That's strong. But
you think more syllables is stronger?
Yeah. Yeah. If you make someone have to talk a lot just to acknowledge you, I think that's power.
Like Apu Nahasapima Pedalon?
Yeah.
That's a strong name?
It's a powerful man.
It seems like once you get past a certain amount, then no one can pronounce it properly, and that takes the power away.
You have to, once you get the power, you have to keep the power. The name just gets it for you. You gotta hang on to it yourself, you know.
Right.
But when me and Jamie got married, she changed her name to mirror my last name, in line with social norms. And it took.
Yeah, you mean I was wondering what you were talking about. You just mean how it's normal.
Yeah, the normal way. It took forever to get it changed.
Right.
It was a huge undertaking.
Right.
And one I don't want to take again. So I'm going to leave his name as Mason.
Oh, yeah.
But thanks for the question, Tyler. Then there was the whole Southern accent portion of Dynamic Banter, which I think speaks for itself. Other than that could be a whole spinoff show.
Easily.
I need to know more. We're rushing through because we're 36 minutes in and we still got so much.
Do you think
to get
Dynamic
to.
Banter would be fun if they ever switched it up and did like a whole episode in character?
Yes.
As like different characters like that?
Yes.
You think like a theme show every once in a while?
I would fully support that. It could be like a bonus. It doesn't have to be a full episode.
Well, I feel like that's kind of what it is.
DB plus
in the episode already.
Right. Yeah.
They got their bonus.
But apparently not a British episode. I was okay with it. I think that they just needed to do the commentary among Ghostbusters that they said they would do.
Right.
And then sky's the limit. So this other accent, the last thing I have here is the Foul Zone special. He said if he ever gets a special.
Oh, right.
What do we got to do to get Foul Zone a special?
It doesn't seem that hard. It seems
Right?
like everyone gets them.
Like, could we just like put a camera on him right here in the living room? He could do the full special there.
Is there a certain like level of production value that is required to call it a special?
Oh, I mean, I would light it and shoot it with multiple cameras, but he would just be doing the bit. To you and Steve. We can make that happen. Let us know on Twitter if you would pay $1.99 to watch that. Is that the going rate? You can't put it out for like Louis numbers.
No, because he's got big numbers of people who will buy it, so he can
Right.
sell it for a pretty low price.
Oh, I was saying he can sell it for more.
No,
So we can't ask $5 if
no,
Louis putting
it's
his
going to
thing
cost
out.
like $5,000 to each person who wants a digital download of this special to cover the costs.
Because I'm expensive. Yeah.
Mostly you is what I was thinking of, not Mike.
Okay, so before we get into comments, and then our review of The Pacifier, and then fan fiction. Last week we said we would rank the episodes of Dynamic Banter. Are you prepared? Are you prepared with your top 10?
No, I totally forgot.
Do you want to push that off to next week?
Yeah,
All right,
I need to actually do that.
All right, we're gonna push that off. I got my list ready.
We got plenty to.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. I'm gonna make a note right now.
All right. I'm gonna take some. We're gonna take a question or two from the audience. First question, you ready? Is from Jesse Stillwell,
Our friend Jesse.
who hosts the After Show that gets canceled each week
By himself.
by himself. I hope that he does another one. I hope it gets renewed and canceled every week.
Yeah, it's great.
He called you out again, but I was unclear about what.
I'm kind of unclear too. He just seems to have a
I
problem
think he was
with
just
me.
he was happy that he was able to pinpoint when you went outside and smoked.
Me too.
I think.
I don't have a problem with any of it.
Anyway, he dropped a question on us.
I say chin up, pal, and keep it going.
Jesse asks, at Talking Banter, I have a little cue. Hey, how about it? Do you want to field that one?
Oh boy. Yes. Would be my answer.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything more to say there. Raven Brink at a tweet and Raven,
Mm-hmm.
second time questioner, ask, why did it take at Owen P. Carter so long to become a regular on the camera / microphone? And that is a question for the at Talking Banter PCast. And then she put an emoji of a crab and what looks like the emoji of a pigeon head.
Wonder what that means.
This is a question for you. Did you get on the camera?
I mean, well, they were live streaming, and I'm just a behind the camera person. There's more talented people than me to talk and do all that stuff, and that's kind of why they do. Everyone's got their own job, you know.
Yeah, but you don't think you can get there? Just through like this podcast and hypothetically another podcast.
I like playing music for people, but I don't like when things are recorded of me, or when microphones get bumped. Just not my favorite. But Steve's been wanting me to do the Lost thing with him forever. So
Yeah, the music on this episode of Dynamic Banter was the best so far.
it was fun.
I was really pleased by that.
Yep. Well,
Next question.
That fake British accent really inspired.
Sebastian.o at _dynamics at our day writes, at Talking Banner, do you think Brett would be let on the DB podcast even though he hosts TB? That'd mean Brett would be on 3 different podcasts. It seems like too many.
They haven't really done guests on Dynamic Banter, huh?
No, I don't. I mean, do they need to?
No, but I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't be against it, but it would have to be.
Don't you like guests on the podcast you listen to? I do. Switches it up.
Yeah. They have guests on Commentarium, though.
Yeah, but there's only been 2 commentary things so far.
Right. It's hard. It's really early in this show. And in this after show, it is also early. So time will tell is the answer.
I was going to sneeze and it turned into a yawn and now it's all stuck in my face. I hate it.
I wanted to, before we get into the pacifier, during one night of dinner club, Rhino Balls came out.
Oh yeah, and
We had to have tacos. He's great.
he is great.
You got to meet Madison. See, I can change it on the podcast for free.
Uh-huh.
For out of waste time. So just so you know, last week we had a question about the movie The Pacifier and our thoughts on it, but neither of us had seen it, so we were gonna watch it this week. I did. Owen didn't. So I figured I'd just explain it to you, and you can derive some sort of understanding. Okay,
yeah.
So The Pacifier. First of all, I didn't know it was a Disney movie.
Me either.
So it gave it a little bit of cred up front, other than I had to rent it off Amazon because you can't get it on any of the streaming services until Netflix closes that Disney
How much
deal.
did you pay to watch The Pacifier?
I think I paid $4.
Oh man.
I honestly, I definitely did. I put it on sort of selfishly while I was watching Madison, and I was like, he's not gonna want to watch this, but it turned out he did. Like he was in. So that's like the best part of my review for it is that Mason enjoyed it. So it's good for kids.
How old is he?
He's 2.5. So
Does he
appropriately
understand?
aged. I think he understood everything you needed to understand about this movie. All right, so we start with Vin Diesel on a beach with a whole SEAL unit. He's a Navy SEAL, and he's giving them a speech. He's like hitting them hard with like a really cliched speech about this mission they're about to go on.
And how do you think the 2.5-year-olds are feeling at this point?
Mason wasn't in yet.
Yeah.
This part he wasn't.
That sounds a little tough.
Yeah, he's giving like the equivalent of like if Mason had tried to rewrite the speech from Braveheart. That's what was coming out of Vin Diesel's mouth at this point. So they jump in the water and they go in this whole huge action sequence where they're trying to take over this boat and they're fucking blowing stuff up. And like for some inexplicable reason, Vin Diesel jumps on a jet ski and like leads a bunch of evil jet skiers away from the boat and then takes them all down and then goes back to the boat and they rescue.
Are they shooting?
Oh yeah, I mean it's like a Michael Bay movie shot by a kid in his first year of film school.
But are like so in this?
There's like explosions.
So people are dying.
I think it's implied death. Nobody's getting shot through the heart or anything.
Right.
It's a PG movie. They get down to the bottom of the boat and they find Joshua from Friends that dated Rachel that had to redo his whole wardrobe. That guy. Something
What?
Tate. Never gonna get it. It's not up there. Remember the episode of Friends
When she
after Ross and Rachel broke up. Ross is engaged to Emily, and she becomes a personal shopper. She gets like demoted or whatever, and then she has to redo his whole wardrobe, and they start dating, and his name's Joshua. And at one point, the guy's like, "Josh," and she's like, "It's Joshua." He's like, "Oh, does he not like Josh?" And she's like, "No, I don't." This is also a Friends podcast. Did you not know that?
Oh boy.
So that guy, he plays this like scientist.
I forgot about Emily. I think I liked her better.
She's great. If you ever go to London, they play Friends every day, but it's always the London episodes. Like I'm not even joking. They're in a much more extreme rotation than any other episode.
I'm sure.
So
Who was it?
Huh?
Who was it that played Emily?
Oh, I don't know. She went on to do nothing.
It wasn't like Emily Mortimer or whatever?
No. Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay. So he gets Joshua out of the bottom of the boat, and they were trying to kidnap him because he had some thing called the Ghost. At no point in the entirety of this movie did I understand what that device was. But they get they get him back to shore, and they're about to get him into a helicopter back to safety. And he's like, "Oh, I got to call my family." And Vin Diesel's like, "We don't have time to call your family." And he's like, No, I really need to call them.
Never mind. I don't like her.
No, you're out?
Yeah.
All right. Officially, Owen's out on Emily. Okay, wait, stick with me because it gets really good. Okay. So he's like, I should call my family. And Vin Diesel's like, we don't have time. And he's like, well, I really need to call them. They think I'm dead. And he opens up his briefcase, and there's just a phone and a picture of his family. And he's like, see, this is my family. And Vin Diesel's like, we really don't have time for this. He's like, it's okay. I'll be real quick. And Vin Diesel's like, oh, okay. And he goes into the helicopter, and he pats the pilot. And he's like, we're almost ready to go. And then the pilot like keels over because he's fucking dead.
Yeah.
And then they shoot Vin Diesel. And then we hard cut to black.
So there's a dead body.
There's a dead body. Plus Vin Diesel just got shot.
Right.
Okay? We have no idea what happened to Joshua from Friends. I didn't truly understand until about an hour and 15 into the movie that he had died at that point. That they had killed him.
It's Joshua.
Yeah. Stick with it.
How are you supposed to know that?
You don't. Maybe you do. Maybe they like, it would have had to have been a very cryptic line of dialogue. But they cut back like 2 months later, and Vin Diesel's walking through the SEAL facility or whatever, totally uninjured by being shot.
Still not pacifying any kids by this point, huh?
Oh, wait till you find out what the pacifier is. So yeah, a little foreshadowing. So he's walking through the FBI thing, and the guy's like, "Don't, it's okay, you did fine." And he's like, "You took a bullet." And he's like, I really botched the mission." And at this point, I'm like, "Yeah, you botched it. You shouldn't have let him call his family. You should have got him in the helicopter and got out of there, like a real SEAL." So he wasn't hard enough on himself. Anyway, I'm not kidding. Within the next 30 seconds of on-screen time, somehow Vin Diesel has gone to Joshua's family. Okay.
Because he's like feeling bad about.
No, again, like I was watching this with Mason, so I guess he distracted me a little bit. But somehow they found the ghost, the thing, was in the Swiss bank, and they needed her to fly to Switzerland and get it out of a lockbox, the wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vin Diesel's going to watch the family while she's gone, but he's just supposed to protect them. So he gives them all like ankle bracelets, and then there's this like insane Russian nanny that's like the worst stereotypical, like fall down laugh type person. She gets like burned, and she gets like thrown up on and everything. So he's watching the family,
she's, like, old
and the
and
mom,
ugly and Russian,
yeah, absolutely.
so she deserves it. So it's funny,
right? It's that beautiful subtle racism. So the mom leaves to go to Switzerland, and I don't remember what happens in the movie, but they keep cutting back to her sitting at the bank and not being able to know what her husband's password is. That's the rest of the movie for her. Like all this shit happens. It goes on for days and days, but they just keep cutting back to her sitting there trying to guess it. Okay, so Vin Diesel's supposed to watch the kids. They all hate him. Like Brittany Snow is one of the kids. Whatever.
Who's that?
She was in movies. She was in the Prom Night remake. So the Russian lady quits. It's too much.
Good for her.
Which is inexplicable to me because she's been watching these kids forever, and something about Vin Diesel being there, she's out. So she quits. But not before.
Are the kids like a terror with him?
A little bit, but like, never like a point. It's always like, oh, are they being bad kids? I guess. Like the movie really never hit that
That's
home.
like the Mr. Nanny.
Yeah, Mr. Nanny. It's very Suburban Commando. Very Suburban Commando. So
I'd say more Mr. Nanny than Suburban Commando, don't you think?
Well, just because that's like Hulk Hogan, and I feel like him and Vin Diesel have a very similar acting style.
Yeah.
So
You're saying Vin Diesel is no better than a professional wrestler at acting. Is that what you're saying?
how hard? It's so difficult to be a professional wrestler. That's a lot of acting. You got to
I'm
keep
not
your
talking about
sparkly stormtrooper helmet on as you smash through a wall.
That's more difficult. I'm saying Vin Diesel's level of acting is as good as the level of acting from a professional wrestler like Hulk Hogan, which is not that great.
I'm a pretty big Fast and the Furious fan, so for me, Vin Diesel's doing everything I need him to. I didn't see The Last Witch Hunter
But are you
for a
saying that
reason.
his acting is about on the same level?
Yeah.
And The Rock is definitely better?
Well, I think this is Vin Diesel's lowest, and Suburban Commando was the Hulk's highest, so I think they met there. Yeah, see how that goes? Anyway, no, but stick
What about
with me.
Saving Private Ryan?
Okay.
That's like real.
Yeah. That's good, though.
Yeah. Vin Diesel.
This is Vin Diesel's worst. The pacifier is the bottom. he doesn't he's trying to buy back the rights to Pacifier so he can bury it.
Got it.
That being said, it's not a bad movie. So he gets a call from the mom around the same time as the nanny is quitting. So then it becomes this insane sequence where he's trying to keep her from walking out the door by like slamming her around and like grabbing her leg and pulling her back in the house.
What the hell?
Finally, she gets to a taxi cab and drives off, but he's like chasing her down. It's baffling.
But he's like on the phone the whole time.
Right.
So it's like,
right. And this is like corded phone days.
No, don't go. Oh, so the cord's like stretching.
Yeah. Oh,
and
it's
he's
a
trying to
whole
reach.
thing.
Yeah. I can picture that.
So now we've got Vin Diesel. And
Is
the
he in
kids.
like a towel, or is it like? Is there something? Does he have a mixing bowl in the other hand? Is there something?
No, they didn't take it that many steps. I do feel like something got dumped on her. Like there is no shortage of poopy diaper jokes in this.
Oh boy.
He's like,
how old are the kids in it?
Like Brittany Snow is the oldest. She's maybe 16, 17. The next one's like 13 or 14, and then it goes to like, maybe 8, and then like 3 and like 6 months.
There's 5 kids.
Yeah.
Oh, why can't a nanny and a almost 18-year-old girl take care of, and another teenage boy take care of the 3 other smaller ones?
I don't know.
Well, no, he's not like stuck there. He's supposed to like be protecting.
He's supposed to be
them
protecting
'cause
them.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So then then we just live through the next like 60 minutes of weird, misguided, like him trying to be a good father and them rejecting him and then them ultimately accepting him. That's how this movie goes.
Oh, boy.
This is the formula.
Their father just got like blown up or
their
murdered,
father's
like,
dead,
2
their
months
mom's
ago.
gone, so he's like the father figure. So over the course of the next hour, you assume he's gonna win them over. No, none of that happens. They're fucking horrible pieces of shit to him, and they're like, "Why don't you leave us alone?" And at that moment, 2 ninjas smash through the window, and he has to defend them from these 2 legit ninjas. He has to fight the ninjas off. And then as soon as the ninjas are gone, the kids come out of the room where they're hiding and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we are in danger. We need your help." And everything turns around.
Everyone's cool.
It's not like an eventual thing. It's just like they're pieces of shit right up to when like everything changes. And he, one of the girls is like a Girl Scout. And she put out her table with the Girl Scout cookies. And these Boy Scouts come up. And they're like, this is Squad 315's territory. And first of all, I'm like, boys don't sell cookies. So what is this?
Yeah.
I have no point of reference for this.
Yeah.
But anyway, they take all the cookies and smash them. And then he reaches over and grabs her like kerchief, her little like bandana, and snatches it off from around her neck. And it's like, "Don't come around here anymore." And I was like, that kid's going to be a date rapist. Like that kid is putting a roofie in someone's drink tonight. It just was like insane. It was really weird. And then, so he has to teach them to like fight back and like
Teach the
defend
girls,
themselves.
yeah.
So he does like a little something for all of the kids.
Right.
And Jesus Christ, yeah. So he teaches them to fight back. They eventually fight back from the boys, and they do this whole like stance thing or like like Saturday afternoon karate moves.
Yeah.
And they show them they can fight, and the boys are a little wary, and they're like, "Go get him anyway." And the kid goes up and like grabs her kerchief again, and I'm just like, "Why is that the thing?" Like they're not gonna. I thought he was gonna go up and like punch her in the face. He just grabs a hold of it, and then she beats him up, and whatever. It's so stupid. And then the other kid, the boy, he's a wrestler, but he doesn't want to be a wrestler. He's like, "Why did you join the wrestling team if you didn't want to be a wrestler?" He's like, "My dad made me." This is never referenced again in the movie. Like, it's weird how they keep like coming back to the dad as like he seemed like a shitty father.
Right.
But they don't ever.
They don't want you to feel that bad that he's dead.
Well, I think they're saying like Vin Diesel is the first real father they've had. But that's such a weird fucking storyline to throw at the pacifier.
He doesn't end up as their new dad, does he?
No, he ends up with the school principal who's played by the mom from Gilmore Girls.
When did the principal come in? Oh, because he's helping the kids at school or whatever?
It's an unnecessary side. They have a really nice meet cute, that she also served. But it's totally it's like slapped on at the last second. But he goes to the school to help the boy because the wrestling coach is the guy from Everyone Loves Raymond, not Raymond, but the other guy,
Tall guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like a piece of shit. He's a garbage person. He's a shitty, fucking horrible human being that shouldn't exist. That's just what he is. And they
In real
establish
life,
that.
or
But then
talking about the actor or in the movie?
no, the character. They just made like the worst possible character that's ever existed. And
Worse than that kid who's gonna be a date rapist.
well, he eventually will become the worst character. But Vin Diesel is called in, and they found the boy had like dyed his hair bleach blonde, and they found a armband in his locker that had a fucking swastika on it. He had a Nazi armband and dyed his hair blonde. So that's where we're at with the movie right now. And they want to kick him out of school, and Vin Diesel's like,
This is the teenage boy in the family?
yeah, he has a fucking
What the hell?
swastika. Okay, so that's when Vin Diesel tried to talk to him or whatever. And
You can't have a kid becoming a Nazi in a Disney movie.
right? So at this point I'm like, what's happening? This can't be really where we're going with this. Like, I thought the wrestling coach was trying to frame him or whatever. That's not the case. The wrestling
still
coach
weird.
also at this point threatened to wrestle Vin Diesel
What
at
did
any
Madison think about that swastika?
point. He was like pointed and he's like, red. And I'm like, God damn it, Disney. Cut it out.
He said
so,
rad?
no, red, like the color red.
Right.
Yeah. No, he didn't say anything. He was, I think he'd gone back to watching YouTube videos at this point. He came in and out. But so then Vin Diesel tries to talk to him. He won't talk to him. He escapes from the house, and Vin Diesel has to track him down. And when Vin Diesel finds him, he's walking up to a group of kids in a back dark lit alley who all have swastika armbands on. And it's like, we're fucking doing this. Like, we're
my God.
doing this. This guy is a white supremacist. They go into like a little room, and Vin Diesel comes running up and smashes into the room, and they're practicing for The Sound of Music, and he wants to be an actor. And then he proceeds to sing the song, the main song, and he picks up the girl lead or whatever, and like drops her because he's terrible. He's so awful, but he's leading in this play. So then the director does this whole thing where he's like, you guys are terrible, and he quits. So then guess who becomes the fucking director? Yeah, Vin Diesel. So, but not before that girl who he dropped walks up to the kid and goes, if you drop me again, I'll kill you. And then walks off. So then Vin Diesel directs the play, and the play is better. And, you know, like, he does all these things.
I was in a school play once, and
Yeah.
I was supposed to carry the girl out in my arms at the end. It was like 7th grade, and all the girls are taller than the normal boys, and I was
Sure.
shorter than the normal boys. So we switched it up. So at the end, she came out carrying me.
Oh, that's nice. I thought you were going to say you dropped her off the back of the stage.
But it would have happened real bad. So the teacher wisely decided, won't this be funny? Let's do it this way.
So anyway, so he helps all the kids. All the kids love him. And then they get the ghost out of the machine because the password was something that was inscribed on the inside of her ring. So she pulled her ring off and saw it. Was fucking stupid. Again, they didn't change clothes. They didn't do shit. They just sat there for like 8 days doing this while Vin Diesel was taking care of everything. And
Were they going for like a Home Alone vibe, maybe?
it felt like Uncle Buck, but not good.
Right.
So then she's with Vin Diesel's like boss guy or whatever, and they get the thing out and they come home. So she calls him and is like, we're coming home. We got it. And Vin Diesel's like all upset because he's got to leave the kids now, and he's like loves the kids or whatever. But then, she gets back. Vin Diesel's boss like double crosses him. He double crossed him. That's how Joshua got killed in the first place.
Right.
This is also when we find out that Joshua is dead. So, he inexplicably tries to steal the thing. They're
So
two
they talk
neighbors.
about him the whole time like he's missing?
I just thought he was missing. I thought he'd been kidnapped.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But yeah, he's dead.
Usually they would cut to the kidnap victim at some point, so you can see where they're at.
Not in this movie. Like it never lent itself to have a cutaway backstory. All right. So then, like the neighbors are also in on it, and they were the ninjas, and they're Asian,
What?
so it's more like racist, wonderful, garbage.
But wouldn't the neighbors have always been living there?
Yeah, it's the rest of the movie is whatever. They go downstairs, they use the ghost thing, they get it, and
What's it do?
Vin Diesel gets no idea. They never get to that. He gets the best of them and saves the day. All that is whatever. But what the really important part is, Vin Diesel takes the guy from Everyone Loves Raymond up on his offer to wrestle, because Everyone Loves Raymond guy is like, he's a wrestling coach and he thinks he's great, and Vin Diesel is obviously a fucking Navy SEAL. So they get like the whole school together and they're gonna wrestle. And you think this is going to be a really big moment, but it's not. Like, there's no back and forth. Like, he runs up to him. He's like, the first thing is don't be too eager to attack your opponent. And, like, knocks him down. And basically gets the best of him. But at the end, he grabs his arm and he does, like, a weird arm bar. And he twists his hand up at him. And he takes Everyone Loves Raymond's 3 fingers and shoves it in his own mouth. So now Everyone Loves Raymond guy, his fingers are shoved in his mouth. And Vin Diesel's like, and that's what we call the pacifier. And then gets the best of him in a couple quick scenes, and then it's all over. And then they go see The Sound of Music play, and we're fucking out.
That's the only reference to a pacifier in the movie. Does the baby have a pacifier?
He has one, but they don't say it at any point.
That's the thing they called the pacifier.
Yeah, that's the pacifier.
That's the big reveal. That's the pacifier.
And it was so great. I felt like the movie
Did he say
really
it like this?
Earned it. Yeah, we pulled that audio from the movie. So that's the pacifier. It wasn't good, but there are worse movies.
Well, what was the one that you picked instead? It's Game Day or something?
Oh, the Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, so the Tooth Fairy was so much worse than the pacifier.
Really?
But he becomes the Tooth Fairy. So it's like a big idea. So on paper, I still feel better about picking the Tooth Fairy over the pacifier, but I will concede that the pacifier is a better movie.
Interesting.
Because I watched it start to finish without questioning.
That's why
that.
You're the best, you know? You're open-minded to stuff like that.
But here's the real crazy part is after it was over, on my Amazon Fire Stick, it had recommendations down at the bottom, and one of them was Free Willy, which is on Amazon Prime. So I didn't need to pay for that one. I could just watch it. And I saw the poster for Free Willy, and he's got his hand up, and the whale's jumping over him. And I was thinking, I was like, how the fuck did they get that shot? That's amazing. Because back then, there was no CGI. Like, they would have had to have trained that whale to do that. And I really convinced myself. And so I was like, I gotta see it. And so I started playing it. And I remember when I saw it in the theater on like a Saturday matinee. And I remember...
Would that have been a 1990 or something?
Somewhere around there. But it was a double feature with like The Sandlot or something that I had already seen. Yeah. But you could see Free Willy early if you stayed. And so I remember seeing Free Willy. And when I left... It was the first time you heard that Michael Jackson song. I was like, this is one of the best movies that has ever been made. So I'm watching it last night, and I fast forward to the moment. And I'm watching it, and I really, really encourage you to go revisit it. Because it's like 20 miles away from him. They let the whale jump in the foreground, barely out of the water, and then they cut to what is... maybe the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life of a whale jumping over him. And then they cut to him with his hand up, and they have, I guess, like a prop whale that they have on like a crane that they're just flying over him. And then they basically steal that moment from Jaws 3D where he smashes into the glass, where it's like a clear cutout of a whale. They just moved across the frame.
Oh, no, really?
And you never get that moment from the poster. That's not in the movie. It's like this really... So in my head, I've always envisioned it as like that.
Don't you miss that being a kid where you're like, they can show you something like that and your mind puts it together as this like perfect, believable
Absolutely.
thing?
And we're like, yes, he did it.
Uh-huh.
He got the whale to jump over him,
Yeah.
even though we haven't seen him do anything like that.
Richard Donner produced that?
He could have.
Is Michael Madsen in that? Is he the
No.
the stepdad or whatever?
There was a lot of people in it, though. The girl who played Tank Girl, who was in A League of Their Own, she's in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like recognizable faces.
Sure.
But I really enjoyed revisiting Free Willy. So the pacifier gave me that, so I'm going to give it 3, what's our 3 conversation bubbles out of 7.
I wish you hadn't said what it's out of. That's always the best. 4 stars. Well, do you have a 4
Out of 40.
or 5-star system? Yeah, who knows?
But I really enjoyed this. So if you have other movie recommendations for us,
Oh.
if I haven't seen it,
And so I do my homework better,
well, you watch the next one and you can explain it to me. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. But gotta get a little fan fiction
I think I'm ready.
in here.
Finally.
This is from. So what we got a lot of entries, which is great.
Speaking of which, did you see that recent tweet? Little animation for Dynamic Banter?
No, what?
Oh, it looks so great.
Forrest Norris at Forrest Norris 3 did an amazing GIF. We will GIF. I'm gonna call it a GIF. We'll retweet that on the Talking Banter channel so you can see it. And Forrest, if you want to make one for Talking Banter, we wouldn't say no. So we got a bunch of fan fiction. I wanted to read the first one that came in.
So there's a lot?
Yeah. And I'm gonna throw a twist in at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. All right. Really excited about this. You ready? Philip Johnson
Okay.
is the writer, and it's called Grilled Stee. All right, you ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Steve walked into the diner he'd walked into many times before. He sat down at his usual table. A little boy walked over to take his order. "What can I get you?" said the bearded, long-haired boy. Steve nearly said, "The usual." But this was a new waiter he had not seen before. "A grilled cheese sandwich, please, and a Coke." "A bowl of tomato soup with that?" asked the waiter. "Sure," said Steve. The waiter left for a few minutes. Steve waited patiently for his order, thinking how cute the waiter was. The waiter returned with his Coke. Minutes more passed, longer still. Steve sipped that Coke passionately in a bendy straw, but grew hungry waiting for his meal. He looked around for the waiter and didn't see him. He saw no one. He thought it odd that the diner had no other customers in it. The waiter returned with his food. "Thanks," said Steve. "You're welcome." Steve noticed he had no silverware on his table and asked for some. The waiter returned with a little spoon, which he dropped into the soup. The red vegetable liquid splashed onto Steve's lap. "Oh, I'm sorry," the waiter exclaimed. "It's no problem. Let me take you in the back in the kitchen. I can clean you up." Steve smirked with excitement over the thought of being alone with the waiter. The waiter applied a cold rag to Steve's pants because cold water won't set the stain.
Is that true?
Apparently. "Is this good?" asked the waiter. "It could be better," Steve said. "How?" Steve reached out and twirled his finger into the waiter's hair. "I could be lost in those eyes," he said, winking with a cartoon sound effect. "What's your name?" Steve asked the waity. "Mikey Falzone," he said. "Well, Mikey Falzone, sometimes you gotta dip that sandwich in that soup." Steve embraced Mike, leaning in for a passionate kiss. Steve's left hand on the small of his back, his right hand reaching for Mike's hip. Steve took a controlling step forward, with Mike moving with him. Steve then proceeded to slip in a puddle caused by the wet rag on the floor. His right hand fell off Mike's hip and onto the hot stove. Steve had to have Mike drive him to the burn unit and get lots of bandages and some aloe. "So what do you think of that?" Mike asked. Steve looked at the camera as Asia's heat of the moment began to play. The end. Thank you, Philip. That was beautiful. So that's the fan fiction segment. I wanna read more fan fiction, but I fear the sexual content will only increase. So what I was gonna say is, since
That was
they're
the part
doing,
where it got interesting, though. I'll be honest.
oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we'll keep the sexual component, but for next time, I would love it since they're doing Ghostbusters on the Commentarium. If you do a little Ghostbusters dynamic banter fanfic with Steve and Mike busting ghosts. So send that, if you dare, to talkinbanter@gmail.com. No G. And we'll read it next time. If we don't get any, we'll read some of these other ones. We'll eventually get to them all. We might have a fanfic only episode. I don't want to leave anybody hanging.
That many.
But Philip, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Philip.
And I think that's pretty much it. I think we got it all this time.
For once?
For once.
For now.
Well, this is episode 3. We're getting a little better.
Sure they'll
We
have...
didn't rank the episodes like we said we were going to.
That's true. I'll get on that.
Next time.
And I'm sure if we had anything we missed, people will ask us questions and we can make sure to cover it next time.
Listen, let us know on Twitter. You can ask us questions anytime you want. At Talking Banter, no G on the Twitter. And I'm Brett Register.
I'm Owen.
And this has been Talking Banter. See you next time. What did you say at the end of the last one?
I don't remember. What did I say?
I don't know. It was great, though.
Oh,
That should be the sign off.
Bye-bye.
I don't think that was it.
Good night.
That might have been it.
Lights out.
That was a HeadGum podcast.